Black Supremacy is Nattyisisyah, and I want you to join the website kingdomuncensored.com and subscribe and like this video. So today I'm talking about sexual deviance. So there are people who do what would be considered sexually deviant acts, and they take something that might be considered sacred or something holy or something that shouldn't be quote unquote defiled or something like that, and they make it into something that is radically different from how some people would perceive it to be. They basically would be considered sexually deviant, and the things that they do with these sacred, so-called sacred acts or sacred things, they turn it into something sexually deviant, right? And I want to say that sexual deviance has done more benefit than it has harm to us as a society, as a race, as a people, in the long run. Now, in the short run, in the short term, sexual deviance is always going to be looked at as something negative, or at least, until we change our mindset. And it might not always be looked at as something negative, because what we call sexual deviance now has not always been sexual deviance. So even for me to say that something that was sacred or something that was holy has been made sexually deviant or has been defiled, that is not necessarily true. That is all up to interpretation of the now. The reason why I say sexual deviance has done more benefit than harm is because through these so-called sexual deviant acts, a lot of healing methods have been preserved, right? So you might be saying, oh, you know what, I'm about to unsubscribe, she's talking all this mess, whatever, feel free. But the reason why I'm saying that too is because, let's just take, for example, a man. He becomes impotent, or a woman, she starts to feel as though her lady parts are not functionally optimal, or that she's not sexy enough, or that she's not beautiful enough, or he feels that he's not performing as well as he was before, when he was younger, when he was sexually deviant, right? What's he gonna do? Chances are both him and her alike are going to seek to heal themselves. They're going to seek out herbs. They're going to seek out healing modalities like yoga, or massage, acupuncture, all types of different methods, to heal themselves, right? If it wasn't for this sexual deviance, right? Because otherwise they would just be like, okay, well, it's not working, I don't need it anymore, right? But why is it that, it's so unhealthy if your phallus is not, erect? Why is it so unhealthy if your vagina is not as lubricant, as it used to be, or your breasts are not as stiff as they might have been, right? Why is unhealthiness connected to that? Why is it that in order to truly be healthy, that you need to have an erect phallus that symbolizes, strength and fertility and virility? And for the female, the same thing. Why is it that to be a healthy female, your womb needs to be functioning correctly, you need to be ovulating, you need to be menstruating, and in order for that to happen, having a certain level of sexuality needs to be preserved. Why is it that if we're healthy, health does not equate being a Mother Teresa type figure? Why is it that health does not equate being, somebody who just doesn't have sex, somebody who's just, off to themselves, separate all the time, or just, the typical American? Why is it that is not the ideal health status that we see? Why is it always somebody who is young, beautiful, sexually attractive, right? So if you even look at a lot of artifacts that are left behind, a lot of them that have really stood the test of time, a lot of them will be considered sexually deviant in nature. So for example, you have statues and you have artifacts where women walking around topless, walking around in sheer fabrics. You have even like they go a step further where it's just straight out sexual acts just all over the walls, and all type of figurines. It's just straight sexual figurines. When you look at even the figurines, a lot of figurines of the black goddess or the goddess, she is naked, she's pulling her vagina lips apart, right? Is very what you call sexually deviant, right? But if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have a lot of the the movement that you have going on now, where women are trying to use yoni eggs, and they're trying to get in touch with their feminine side, and they're doing this. And you have men also, are looking to these obelisks and these other unique figures, and seeing that these people were proud about their sexuality. We're calling it sexual deviant, but that's how it is in their country, or in those countries, or that's how it was in those eras, and it has maintained that way, right? So this whole idea of sexual deviance is very Christian in nature, right? And even Christianity, don't even get started with just how quote unquote sexually deviant that is. So this whole concept of sexual deviance is really just something to condemn ourselves with, and just something to judge each other, right? And it really shows that you are dumbed down in nature, because some of the people who are doing all the judging and finger pointing, they engage in some of the most sexually quote unquote deviant acts that you would ever imagine, right? And in order for them to feel good about themselves, they have to point the finger at somebody else. So I'm saying that sexual deviance, open sexual deviance, has done more benefit than harm. So again, we're talking about, in terms of healing, and in terms of passing on culture and passing on tradition, because massage is something that can be looked at as something very sexual in nature. On some social media sites, they don't want your video goes into a certain category if you talk about massage. But massage is one of the most healing techniques that you can possibly do to the body. It's really something that everybody should do. It's something that, if we were to build a community, massage should be a staple, right, in place. But it's considered sexually deviant in American society, or in Western society, right, to even picture somebody naked, completely naked, just with a towel over them, being massaged. But when you go to the doctor's office for an ailment, because you got cancer, or because you got a penile dysfunction, or a vaginal infection, it's okay. It's okay to walk around in a corporate building with your butt cheeks hanging out, because of the little gurney thing that they give you, or the little dress thing that they give you doesn't fully cover you. That's okay. But to heal, for preventative healing, the naked body is looked at as detestable, ugly, nasty, dirty, right? So we need to really change our concept of that. And this word, sexual deviance, probably we really need to consider doing away with that, because the word is doing us more harm than a lot of the acts itself. And a lot of times, even when they're talking about these acts, they blow it out of proportion, because in a lot of instances, some of these things have been going on for ages and centuries before the white man came and told us that these things are wrong, and they weren't harming us until he came and he said, well, you know what, this is what is okay, and this is what is not okay. This is how much of that you can do, and this is how much you shouldn't do. This is what I want to do, and this is what y'all are allowed to do. So that's my video. That is why, I'm not mad when I see people taking yoga out of context, or, I say out of context right now, but that's not really how I feel. I mean, I'm not mad when I see people experimenting with yoga in sexually provocative acts. Like, if you look at a lot of dance hall is, to me, that's yoga in motion. These women are whining on their heads, they're doing splits, and they're dancing, and they're lifting their leg up. That's yoga in motion. Like, if we could take the walls of India and we could press play, dance hall is probably what the walls in yoga, the walls in India would look like, and possibly even Egypt too, or Kemet, or whatever you want to call it. So what we call sexual deviance is another way of passing on these traditions, because otherwise it wouldn't even be something popular. Like, even just the sexual nature of it brings interest, right? So it's not just about you being sick, but like you could see that and be like, man, how should you do that? And then the next thing you know, you're looking up how to do the splits, and that takes you into a whole slew of information that leads you into, breathing, or the chakras, or wound cleansing, or other type of work for men and their phallus, and their testicles or whatever. So sexual deviance is not as bad as we're making it out to be. And I think in the conscious community, we do ourselves an even greater disservice, because we're bombarded by people who still have a very Christian indoctrination mindset. So it's like, we know that we're not going to be able to screen and scan everybody and determine how Christian they are, and how sleep they still are. And a lot of people are traumatized because nobody's really giving them the information. They're not ready for this information. Like, if we just start calling out a whole bunch of Sanskrit names for different practices, they're going to be looking at you like, what are you talking? You speak. They go to churches where they speak in tongues, but when they hear you saying that stuff, you're speaking in tongues to them, and they don't understand that. They're not going to decipher that, right? So we're dealing with a lot of people who are just coming in, and because they got to put up these barriers. So it's like, we got to know, you got to know who you're dealing with. We got to know who we're dealing with. And it's like, if I say something like that, I'm speaking to a certain type of people. I'm speaking to a certain person. I'm speaking to you who understands what I'm saying, or who gets what I'm saying, or who understands what I'm saying. So I'm not even speaking to everybody, but I am putting the message out there. I am putting the information out there, because it's something that definitely needs to be said. So sexual deviance has done more benefit than harm for us. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about, you need to give yourself some time before you really even comment about that. The rest of you who know what I'm talking about, like the video, share, subscribe, join the website, kingdomuncensored.com. Peace.